Hi there. Welcome to the NPC Corner, where we get to hear your opinion for once. Ever look at a list of the best RPGs of all time and then see Zelda games in there? Like, what the hell? And then I realized that there are a ton of people who think that all the Zelda games are RPGs, and they have a legitimate case. Like, I mean, obviously Zelda 2 is an RPG, but the other ones? There are convincing arguments for both sides, but in case you can't tell, I'm going to lead to the side that says that Zelda is not an RPG. It certainly has RPG elements, but I wouldn't classify any game other than Zelda 2 as an RPG. The first thing we have to ask is, well, what makes an RPG? Broadly speaking, in my opinion, an RPG has to have numbers, like physical numbers that you can see in some form and how they're manipulated. It has to have some form of leveling up and a legitimate battle system. Everything else, like an elaborate story, NPCs, dungeons, and otherwise, are typical RPG staples, but not necessary to the genre. So, does Zelda have numbers? Well, no. Your life is showed by hearts, and your shields and swords don't have stats or anything like that. However, one could say that different types of attacks deplete Link's hearts differently depending on how strong the attack was. So you can almost replace the hearts with the number system and it would be the same thing. Also, Link's swords do different amounts of damages. And there's also elemental attacks, and you can upgrade Link's health. So isn't that kind of RPG-ish in a way? My issue is that if we're willing to say that the health and the equipment and stuff make this an RPG, then we're gonna have to really call a lot of games RPGs. In fact, by this definition, if you want to say that having this health and this equipment and stuff makes it an RPG, then Call of Duty will be counted as an RPG because you level up in that game, you have health, and you have weapons and stuff. Really, I think we have to make a distinction between games that have a lot of RPG elements and games that are RPGs. Oh, this is getting really complicated. Also, I have thought of an exception to my three defining features of an RPG, and that's the Battle Network series. See, in these games, I still define them as RPGs, yet there are no experience points, and you get health very similar to how you do in Zelda. So why do I consider the Battle Network games RPGs, but Zelda isn't? Well, despite all of this, the big difference between these games is that you have to grind in the Battle Network games, but you can't grind in Zelda. You see, in Zelda games, you do not need to grind to progress in the game. I will concede that very rarely, like the Tingle Quest in Wind Waker and the Red Tunic in Ocarina of Time, there are parts where you have to grind for rupees in order to progress through the game. However, these times are pretty rare, and I'm speaking more about combat grinding. You see, in the Battle Network games, yes, you could basically run from every battle since you don't have experience points or anything to get, but then you won't get any money or you won't get battle chips, which means that you can't really progress through the game because you won't be strong enough and you can't win. You have to fight random battles. Yeah, I'm sure there's some asshole who's gone and beaten these games without touching a power-up, but that's not the designer's intent. In Zelda, you can run past every optional enemy basically without consequence unless it's story or puzzle related. And this is the key difference between why I think Battle Network is an RPG even though it doesn't have experience points and Zelda is not. In the former, you have to grind and level up, but in the latter, it's more about your reflexes and spatial sense rather than the character himself and how you use strategy and equipment, etc. Therefore, this is why I don't think Zelda is an RPG. Now, I'm sure someone can find exceptions to my definition, but I think that this covers a lot. So, are you guys convinced? Or do you think that Zelda is an RPG? It's a really close debate, and I could honestly see this going either way. Just comment below and keep it classy. Thanks for watching.